How's it going, boys and girls? It is me, the King Dreamer, LB. Welcome back to my channel today. Round 5 of the AFL season fast approaching. And today, we're going to do our AFL Round 5 tips. Gather round. It's going to be an interesting round, I think, because obviously, with every game being in Adelaide, all but 2 teams have neutral territory to play on. So it's going to be an interesting round. First up, we have Adelaide versus Carlton. Thursday night blockbuster at Adelaide Oval, and to me this is probably the second toughest game to pick of the week. You've got on one hand Carlton, who are technically undefeated, they've got the draw, and on the other hand you've got Adelaide, who have 2 wins on the trot at Adelaide Oval. My mind is sort of leaning towards Adelaide. It's going to be an interesting game for the fact Carlton 2 weeks in a row have been pushed. They've overcome both GWS and North after both teams gave them quite a fight. Arguably both teams nearly upset them. Adelaide, I think, are in slightly better form. Like, I know Adelaide have lost twice. Arguably they should have beat Richmond. Richmond just were able to run over the top of them in the 4th quarter. I don't know, I'm thinking Adelaide, but I think it's going to be a close one. I'm thinking 10 points. Next up, we have 2 teams who have only got 1 win. We've got Freo versus Gold Coast. 14th plays 17th. Now, Freo, they're having a horrid run at the moment. They've only won the 1 game against West Coast. Gold Coast, however, they've had an interesting sort of start to the year. They got thrashed by Sydney. However, they were sort of competitive in that game. Then they had a very, very competitive game against Essendon where they came up short. They then beat last year's premiers, and then they go and deliver a horrible performance against St Kilda. I'm going to say Freo, unfortunately, are going to continue their poor form, and I think the Suns are going to get up by 15 points. The round continues. Richmond v Sydney. I'm very, very conflicted with this game. I'm a massive Tigers fan. Don't get it twisted with this beanie. So my heart says Richmond. We've got 1 win and a draw. On the other hand, the Swans, they're going to be out for blood. The Bloods are going to be out for blood after their devastating loss to Port last week. One thing that makes me lean sort of towards Richmond, not just my bias towards them, of late we've had a sort of good history at Adelaide Oval. Part of me really wants to say a draw because, like, I don't know. So I'm going to go Richmond by 4 points. Just, I don't know. It's probably a bit biased. I feel like we're able to get the job done against Sydney. We've got a lot of injuries, but I think these young fellas that are going to come into the side are going to do a lot of damage, and I think potentially we could get a dub. Next, we have 8th v 9th on the ladder. We've got Brisbane v North Melbourne. And this is going to be another tight one, I think. Both teams with 2 wins and 2 losses on the board. North started so well this season. Then they went over to Tassie. They took a loss to Hawthorn. And then they took a loss to Carlton. And again, North pushed Carlton for most of the game. Brisbane, however, they've only won at home, and I think they're potentially going to continue that trend, and I'm going to say North Melbourne are going to win by 3 goals over Brisbane. I don't think Brisbane are doing too good when they're travelling at the moment. Next up, we have the 3rd place Melbourne v the 4th place Essendon, and boy, this round is sort of work out so perfectly, like the positions on the ladder. I have a feeling that Essendon get the job done against Melbourne, and there's not a lot of reasoning behind it. I think this is just going to be another one of those close games, and my heart and my head says the Bombers get the job done over the D's. I want to say 12 points. Essendon by 12 points. Next up, we have the 10th place Port versus the 11th place Bulldogs. Again, this is at Adelaide Oval, and I think this is a foregone conclusion. I think Port, they want to make a statement at Gather Round, and I think they're going to do the Dogs in by 40 points. We've got a 13th place Geelong versus a 16th placed West Coast. Both of these teams have only won 1 game. Geelong thumping the Hawks over the weekend. Genuinely, I don't know which way this game will go. I think West Coast have a stronger team than Hawthorn, who Geelong did get up over. But I don't think the first 3 rounds of the season is a good gauge to go on for Geelong. I think Geelong have got a few players back, and I think they're going to get the job done over West Coast. But I think West Coast are really going to push them. I think in the end, though, Geelong will break out in the 4th quarter, get get it done by 4 goals. GWS versus Hawthorn, and again, both these teams have only won 1 game. GWS arguably should have beat Carlton. Hawthorn's only win coming at the hands of North Melbourne. Hawthorn have already had a very tough start to the season. They got thumped by Essendon, and then just Monday got thumped by Geelong. Personally, for me, I can't see Hawthorn getting the job done against GWS. So I'm going to say GWS, and I think they're going to do it by 5 goals. I think 30 points, GWS victory. There's not much really more to add to that. I think North just had an off day when they played Hawthorn. I don't think Hawthorn are that good. I think they're going to struggle a lot this season. And last but not least, we have arguably game of the round. We've got St Kilda versus Collingwood at Adelaide Oval. We've got St Kilda undefeated after the first 4 rounds. Collingwood taking a massive loss at the hands of Brisbane last Thursday. This could be a classic. I said last week for Gold Coast versus St Kilda hadn't convinced me, but they've sort of convinced me now. I think after how they dismantled Gold Coast, a Gold Coast who I thought would have been giving them a lot more pressure, it showed how classy they are, especially with all the injuries they've got. I know my good friend Zuma, who I do streams with, he's going to be upset with me saying this. St Kilda get it done, and I think they get it done comfortably. I think 25 points. This has been your boy Lockie B. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to win each game, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.